The hum of the Virelian felt different that day. Not louder, just heavier. Like the ship itself knew it was carrying secrets no one had spoken out loud. Lady Ari Selene stood near the view wall, eyes fixed on the endless dark speckled with distant stars, her reflection faint against the glass. The ship had been her home for months, but lately even home didn't feel safe. She had grown up among politics, lived through whispered deals and veiled threats. But this felt different, colder, as if someone had reached inside her circle and left a shadow that refused to leave. Commander Alira Voss was positioned just a few feet behind her, still in partial armor, helmet resting under one arm. Alira never allowed her guard down, not when threats might be hiding in plain sight. Her presence carried the kind of weight that silenced every room she entered, and Iris had long stopped trying to tell her to relax. For Alira, relaxation didn't exist. It was either protection or failure, and she had no interest in the second option. "You've been staring at the same spot for 10 minutes, Alira said, her voice low but not unkind. "Do you see something I don't?" Aris tilted her head, slightly, lips curling into a faint half-smile. "I wish I did. It would be easier than what I feel. You ever get the sense that something is wrong, even when everything looks right?" Alira moved closer, resting the helmet on the edge of the console. "That's every day I've been assigned to you, my lady. That feeling is why we're still alive." Aris exhaled through her nose, a short laugh escaping. Comforting as always. A pause stretched between them, quiet but not uncomfortable. The ship thrummed with the rhythm of its reactors, footsteps of distant crew echoing faintly through the corridor just beyond the door. Aris had grown used to those sounds, but now they made her listen harder, like one might catch a whisper hiding in the background noise. "What's your read on the crew?" Aris asked finally, turning to face Alira fully. "You've been observing longer than I have." Alira's expression didn't change, but there was a flicker in her eyes, a subtle tightening around the jaw. "They're efficient, disciplined, but guarded. I can't shake the idea that some of them are watching the wrong things. Or maybe waiting for something I can't name yet. A spy?" Aris asked, though she already knew the answer wasn't that simply. Lyra shrugged lightly, one hand resting on the hilt of her sidearm. Maybe just nerves. But I've fought enough battles to know when an enemy is closer than they should be. The crew doesn't move like they're united. They move like someone's measuring their steps for them." Iris frowned, leaning against the console. "That lines up with what I've been feeling. And I don't like it." Before Alira could reply, the door slid open with a soft hiss, and the hum of feathers brushing metal filled the room. Tivovrel entered carrying 2 tall glasses filled with a golden-orange liquid that caught the light in shifting hues. His gait was half bounce, half shuffle, a mix of excitement and complete disregard for personal space. "My lady," Tivo chirped in his distinct voice, setting one glass down on the console with a proud flourish. "Fresh extraction from the agricultural module. Highly concentrated nutrients, boosted by ionized citrus proteins, and very expensive if you buy it from anyone else. But for you, free." Ares raised an eyebrow at the drink, then at Tivo himself. "Is this your way of saying you want a favor?" No, just goodwill," Tivo replied, feathers fluffing slightly as his 6 eyes blinked in offset timing. "Though if you happen to approve my next engineering allocation, I wouldn't complain." Alira snorted quietly but said nothing. She was used to Tivo's mannerisms by now, though she never seemed to decide if she found them endearing or dangerous. Took the glass, turning it slightly in her hand before taking a sip. It was sweet, sharper than she expected, leaving a cooling trace on her tongue. "You always have something unusual hidden away, don't you?" Tivo tapped the side of his skull, where faint biolights glimmered under his skin. "Innovation. Waits for no one, my lady. Besides, People need to feel good in times like these. Morale and all that. Iris held his gaze for a moment, then gestured toward the window. Tell me, Tivo, do you ever feel like someone's watching, even when no one's there? He paused, one of his secondary eyelids flicking closed as if thinking required a different kind of vision. More often than you think. But that's not paranoia. That's usually a sign someone really is watching. Who, though? That's the question. Alira stepped forward, tone sharp now. You know something. Tivo hesitated, claws tapping against the edge of his toolkit. I know patterns. And lately, some of the data flows don't line up. Small delays. Quiet. Reroutes. Like someone's feeding false signals into our own systems. Not enough to crash anything, but enough to hide something. And that's usually not a good sign. Iris tightened her grip on the glass, jaw set. Find out what it is, and do it quietly. If there's a shadow on this ship, I want to see it before it sees me. Tivo straightened, a rare seriousness flashing through his alien posture. Consider it done. Alira picked up her helmet again, sliding it under her arm as she glanced at Eris. I'll have my people double patrols. If there's someone on board who doesn't belong, we'll smoke them out. Iris nodded slowly, eyes shifting back to the stars. I hope you're right. The Virelian's engines hummed louder for a moment, as if answering a question no one had asked, and for a brief second, Iris wondered if the ship itself could feel the tension pressing against its walls. The room had settled into a heavy silence after Tivo left, carrying his tools and a promise to track shadow data trails. Lady Iris Solane stayed by the console, the half-empty glass in her hand, turning slowly between her fingers. Commander Alira. Voss remained near the door, helmet balanced under one arm, scanning the room as if the walls themselves might betray them. Even in quiet, the air felt charged, carrying an edge that was hard to define, but impossible to ignore. Iris finally set the glass down, turning toward Alira. You're staring holes into the bulkhead again. Looking for cracks? Alira's gaze shifted, sharp and unwavering. Habit. This ship is too calm. Calm ships bother me. They always hide storms. Iris smirked faintly. And here I thought you preferred storms. Storms are honest, Alira replied. People aren't. Before Iris could respond, the door slid open once again with its soft mechanical hiss. Tivo Vrel shuffled back in, one hand clutching a datapad, the other holding another glass of that strange citrus drink. Behind him, Zealand, his quieter and far more grounded assistant, followed carrying an additional case filled with neatly packed modules. Before you say anything, Tivo began, raising one claw like he was taking an oath. This isn't about favors, permissions, or experimental reactor bypasses. I'm here because I like sharing good things with people who look like they're thinking too much. Iris arched an eyebrow. That's your way of saying I look stressed? You look like a reactor running its silent overload, Tivo said with a half-chirp, half-laugh. The kind that keeps humming until something blows. So you get more guava blend and some good news or, well, news. Depending on how you define it, Zealand rolled their eyes. Your version of good news usually involves explosions or sleepless nights. Tivo ignored the jab and handed Iris the datapad. I traced those little data ghost trails I mentioned earlier. They weren't random. Someone rerouted internal COMM signals through a private relay on Deck 7. Nothing major on the surface, just power allocation files and maintenance logs, but the encryption was too clean. Like someone wanted to look sloppy, but isn't. Iris's expression hardened. A false flag? More like a test run, Tivo said, tail feathers twitching. Someone checked to see if we'd notice. I'm guessing they weren't expecting anyone like me watching. Alira stepped forward. Do you have a source? Not yet. Tivo said. But I do have a timing pattern. Whoever's behind it is careful, deliberate. They only access during shift change, and even then only for 30 seconds at a time. They don't want attention. Iris tapped the edge of the datapad thoughtfully. 30 seconds is enough. To plant a lot of damage, Tivo leaned against the console, all 6 eyes blinking at slightly different times. You know what 30 seconds isn't enough for? To wipe a footprint completely. I'm good, but whoever this is, they're better than most I've seen. I'm thinking trained. Not an amateur poking around. Zealand finally spoke, their voice flat. Could be a probe, or a marker, or both, Tivo said quickly. Which is why I came here instead of the engineering deck. No chatter, no reports filed. I wanted you to see it first. Alira nodded slowly. Good call. We keep this off. General comes. Last thing we need is whoever's behind this realizing we're watching them back. Tivo tilted his head. Already done. The trace is routed through my own private loop. Only Zealand and I have access, and even then, we're double-blind checking ourselves. You'll have real-time alerts if they touch that relay again. Iris took the second glass. From Tivo, this one cooler than the first. She took a sip, letting the sharp sweetness calm the edge building in her chest. You have a way of making trouble sound like a gift. Tivo smiled, feathers rising slightly. Trouble is what keeps life interesting. Alira gave him a look. Trouble gets people killed. Tivo shrugged. Depends on who you ask. Some people call it progress. Ari stepped away from the console, datapad still in hand. I appreciate your discretion, Tivo. Keep watching those patterns. If someone is testing us, I want them to feel like they're winning right up until the moment they're not. Tivo gave a quick bow of his head. Already ahead of you, my lady. Zealand closed the module case with a soft click. And we'll keep it quiet. Nobody outside this room needs to know. Ari set the glass down, eyes narrowing slightly as she looked at both of them. Good, because this just stopped being curiosity. If there's a shadow on this ship, we're going to catch it before it spreads. Alira placed her helmet back under her arm, eyes locking with Aris's. Then it's war, just a quieter kind. Aris gave a short nod, her voice low but firm. Quiet wars are still wars, and they still have winners and losers. The hum of the Virelian deepened again, a subtle vibration under their feet, as if the ship itself understood what had just been decided. The calm before the storm was fading, and even the stars beyond the view wall seemed sharper, colder, like they too were watching. The datapad screen dimmed slightly as Lady Aris Celine scrolled to the last secured file Tivo had pushed through. The feed was grainy, low light bleeding around the edges, like whoever recorded it hadn't intended for the footage to ever be traced. A man knelt in the center of the frame, hands bound behind his back, head lowered, breathing ragged but calm in that way that comes when someone already knows how the story ends. Saris paused the clip, her thumb resting just above the playback icon. He worked for my brother, she said quietly, her voice more like a thought than a statement. Low-level informant, always paranoid but reliable. He sent me 2 warnings before he disappeared. Alira Voss stepped closer, helmet now resting. On the edge of the console again, her presence sharp and alert. Warnings about what? Movements on the border trade routes, Iris replied, hitting play. He said something was shifting there, something unnatural. Then this came in. The figure on the screen lifted his head just as another shape entered from the left. Whoever it was, they were draped in black, face obscured, movement silent and measured. A thin line of silver glimmered in their hands, vanishing almost instantly into the low light. There was no sound beyond a faint exhale. The next frame showed the man slumping forward, head rolling awkwardly as his body hit the floor. No gun, no blood spray, Just finality as clean as closing a book. Tivo Vrel leaned forward. All 6 eyes locked on the image, feathers slightly puffed. That is not a Dominion technique. That's a kill wire, custom-made, high-tensile silk wire from an obsidian-packed assassin kit. It dissolves in under 30 seconds when exposed to ultraviolet. This was their work. Zealand, who had stayed, quiet until now, shifted uncomfortably. They executed him clean. That wasn't punishment. It was a message. Ares muted the feed and leaned against the console, fingers tapping against the glass surface. To who? Tivo tapped his datapad, pulling up a schematic of the kill's motion. Not to him, to us. That technique is theatrical. It's not about efficiency. It's about being seen. Someone wanted you to watch this. They wanted you to know he died this way. Illyra's jaw tightened, her voice low and hard. Someone inside passed that to you deliberately. They wanted you to feel it. Ares turned toward her slowly, eyes narrowing. Which means someone here is already compromised. Illyra nodded once, resting both hands on her hips. This wasn't random. If it were, they would have dumped the body somewhere no one would find it. Instead, they made sure it got back to you. Tivo's voice cut through the silence, lighter but edged with focus. If the Obsidian Pact has an agent this deep, they're not just passing information. They're shaping it. This is their way of saying they control what you see, what you react to, maybe even what you choose to do next. Iris crossed her arms, eyes still on the paused image of the executioner. And now we know why our systems are being touched. They're not stealing data. They're adjusting it. Zealand frowned. Like planting breadcrumbs? Tivo nodded, feathers flattening slightly. Exactly. Someone's drawing you toward something, or away from something else. Either way, you're being managed. I hate being managed. Illyra stepped around the console, standing closer to Ares now. We treat this like what it is, an active infiltration. We can't trust open channels or any unsecured decks until we know who's feeding this. Iris exhaled slowly, her fingers tightening slightly. At her sleeves? Find me every connection this man had inside the Dominion. Who he reported to, who knew where he was, who might have noticed when he vanished. I want to know if this is about me, my brother, or something bigger. Tivo raised his datapad. Already. Tapping commands. Consider it started, but I'll warn you now. If this really is an Obsidian-packed silent team, you might not like what we find. These are the types who don't just take targets out. They rewrite outcomes. Ares gave him a steady look, a faint edge of fire behind her eyes. Then we rewrite it back. They wanted me to see this? Fine. I'll see everything. Every shadow. Every ghost they're using. Illyra picked up her helmet again and locked it to her arm. I'll triple the garb rotation and restrict access to all high-clearance comm hubs. If anyone so much as breathes near those relays, we'll know. Ares nodded, gaze back on the frozen image. Whoever you are, you made your point. Now let's see if you survive mine. The room fell quiet except for the low hum of the Virelian. Steady and unbroken, as if the ship itself was holding its breath. The datapad dimmed to black after Ares locked the file, but the image of that execution still lingered in her mind like a stain she couldn't scrub away. There was no chaos in it, no anger or frenzy, just precision, the kind only learned through long practice. It unsettled her more than she wanted to admit. Clean deaths were different. They spoke of patience, of purpose, of someone who believed they had the right to choose who lived and who didn't have Ovrel paced near the edge of the room, claws clicking lightly against the polished floor, his feathers shifting with nervous energy. You know, there's a reason they call it a silent kill method. No alarms, no trace, no witness. But if they've sent footage to you, my lady, and we're not just talking about a lone assassin. We're talking about something bigger. We might be dealing with what the Obsidian Pact calls a silent mind. Elira Voss, standing rigidly with her helmet cradled under one arm, gave a short nod. I've heard of them. Unofficial, classified rumors, the kind soldiers tell each other. On deployment, when they need something worse than their current war to worry about. The silent mind isn't just one person, is it? Tivo stopped pacing, looking up with all 6 of his eyes narrowing slightly. Not exactly one person. It's more of a philosophy, a special category of operative trained to reshape entire conflicts from the inside. They're not about bullets or fleets. They're about pressure, whispers, and small nudges that lead to collapses you don't see coming until the ground is gone beneath you. Zealand, leaning against the wall with folded arms, frowned. So, what? Someone who gets inside, moves pieces around, makes everyone paranoid until they turn on themselves? That's part of it, Tivo said. But a true silent mind, they're architects. They don't just infiltrate. They build entire false realities and let you live in them. Until you can't tell where truth ends and their manipulation begins, Aris exhaled slowly, staring at the blank datapad in her hand. So they don't just watch us. They shape us. Make us think we're in control when we're already following their script. Elira's voice was calm, but carried a sharpness like drawn steel. If that's true, then someone inside our ranks isn't just compromised. They might already be steering decisions. Yours, your brother's, maybe even mine. Iris finally looked up, her eyes locking with Elira's. You think I haven't considered that? Every decision I've made since stepping onto this ship feels like it's under a lens now. Like someone's waiting for me to choose wrong so they can tighten their hold. Tivo stepped closer, his feathers settling as he shifted tone less eccentric and more deliberate now. That's exactly why I came to you first. You know how data works. I see everything as patterns. Small anomalies don't bother me, but connected anomalies? Those screen for attention. That relay reroute wasn't about stealing information. It was about filtering it, bending it. A silent mind doesn't need to take command by force when they can simply shape what commanders believe is true. Zealand pushed off the wall, voice low. Then the question isn't if we're compromised. It's how deep it already goes. Ares turned toward the large view wall. Stars scattered across the black like distant fireflies. What do you need to find them? Tivo tilted his head, feathers rising in thought. Freedom. No oversight, no interruptions. Let me build a ghost trace through the ship's architecture. If they're inside, they'll trip something eventually. Might be tiny, an extra code pulse, an inconsistent checksum, but we'll catch it. And when we do, we'll have our ghost. Elira's eyes narrowed. Ghost trace means bypassing half the Virelian's existing security. You're asking for a direct corridor through sensitive systems. The kind that could fry you if it backfires. Tivo gave a quick shrug, a hint of his usual humor slipping back in. What's life without a little risk? Ars raised her hand, silencing them both. Do it. Whatever you need, you have it. But keep it invisible. I don't want anyone outside this room knowing what we're doing. Not Halvik, not the command council, not even routine engineering staff. Zealand hesitated, then nodded. We can do that. But if this really is a silent mind, they'll know we're watching the second we get close. Ares turned, her eyes hard, her voice low and steady. Let them know. If they're watching me, I'll watch them back. But this time, I won't be following their script. Elira finally stepped forward, her presence filling the space with quiet authority. I'll double security sweeps and limit internal traffic on sensitive decks. Anyone steps outside their lane, I'll know. Anyone tries to override it, they'll regret it. Tivo tapped at his datapad, already streaming code faster than a normal eye could follow. Then it begins. I'll need a few hours, maybe less. Whoever they are, they've been careful. But no one's perfect forever. Iris picked up the second glass Tivo had left earlier, still half full, the cool liquid biting at her tongue when she drank. We're hunting ghosts on my ship. If the Obsidian Pact thinks they can scare me, they've chosen the wrong woman. Tivo glanced up briefly, a grin flashing across his beak-like mouth. Scaring you? No. Testing you? Definitely. But I like their odds worse than yours. Ari set the glass down, standing straight, her gaze still fixed on the void outside. Let's make sure they never get another chance to test me. The hum of the Virelian deepened for just a moment, a tremor rolling through the deck as if the ship itself approved. In the silence that followed, all of them knew this was no longer just about protecting secrets. It was about exposing a mind that thrived on shadows and silence, and none of them intended to lose. Hours passed, but none of them really felt it. Time on the Virelian had a strange way of moving, stretching during moments of silence and snapping back to life when something demanded action. The bridge lights had dimmed to night cycle settings, yet no one in the secured briefing room had moved to leave. The air carried a low tension, the kind that doesn't feel like panic, but like the quiet coil of something waiting to strike. Lady Iris Solen stood at the head of the table, datapads and portable screens spread around her like scattered puzzle pieces. Every feed showed something different: crew movements, cargo logs, encrypted summaries. None of it screamed danger on its own, but together it told a story she couldn't ignore. Someone was already inside their lines. Someone skilled enough to avoid every obvious security net, yet bold enough to leave a trail she was meant to find. Commander Illyra Voss stood near the main doorway, helmet back on, visor raised just enough for her sharp eyes to scan everyone in the room, even though the only people allowed inside were already trusted. She didn't believe in trust anymore, at least not fully. Not when they were hunting ghosts. Crew rotations have been trimmed, Illyra reported, voice even but firm. I restricted access to engineering sectors 7 through 9 and rerouted foot traffic away from external sensor bays. If our intruder is using physical relays, they'll have fewer opportunities. If they try anyway, they'll trip alarms they won't see coming. Iris gave a short nod. Good, but we both know a silent mind doesn't work like a standard infiltrator. They don't need to cut wires when they can cut ideas. That's why I wanted this room cleared. We're not just chasing someone in shadows. We're chasing someone who thinks they own them. Tivo Vril, hunched over a portable console at the table, finally looked up, his feathers shifting in irritation. Your silent mind is good. I'll give them that. The code reroute patterns. They're elegant. Too elegant. It's like playing a game where the opponent already knows what move you'll make before you make it. They've buried misdirections in simple things, like power draw logs and crew chatter records. On paper, it looks like normal life. But the timing? Too perfect. Zealand, leaning against the far wall with crossed arms, nodded slowly. So what? They're predicting us? Not predicting, Tivo said. Guiding. They know where we look and where we don't. Every move they make leads our attention just far enough away from something else they're doing. It's a long con, the kind you only see when you step back far enough. And I don't like how wide this picture might be. Ares moved closer, eyes narrowing. Are you saying they could already be shaping Dominion decisions? Tivo met her gaze, his usual humor gone completely. I'm saying if we don't stop them now, we might not be hunting an infiltrator anymore. We might be hunting whoever ends up running this ship without us even noticing they took it. The silence following his words wasn't long, but it was heavy. Illyra broke it first, her voice lower than before. We need to assume worst case. We treat every channel as compromised, every order as potentially influenced. From this moment, nothing moves without our direct eyes on it. Ares turned her. Gaze from Tuvo to Illyra, then finally to the stars visible beyond the narrow viewport. Agreed. This ship has carried me through war, through political disasters, through betrayal I'd rather forget. But I will not let it carry a ghost who thinks they can write my story for me. She stepped toward the table and pressed her palm on one of the datapads, locking its security feeds to her personal code. We move quiet. No alarms, no alerts. They wanted me to know they're here, so let them think I'm still looking in the wrong direction. Let them feel safe. When they finally reach for whatever they came for, we'll close the door. Tivo tilted his head, a faint smile flickering through his alien features. I like it when the prey thinks it's the hunter. It makes the reversal so much more satisfying. Zealand gave him a side glance. And dangerous. Danger's part of the fun. Tivo replied lightly, but his voice carried no real amusement this time. Illyra stepped beside Aris, lowering her helmet visor with a soft click. You're baiting them. Aris didn't deny it. Yes, but I'm not baiting them with weakness. I'm baiting them with resolve. If they wanted to frighten me, they failed. If they wanted to control me, they'll regret even trying. The ship hummed softly, a vibration running under their feet, as if the Virelian itself acknowledged the Vow.li array, adjusted her stance, voice calm but sharpened with conviction. Then we hold position and wait for them to move. The second they do, they stop being ghosts. Aris let out a slow breath and placed both hands on the table, leaning slightly forward. And when that happens, I want them to know one thing before it ends. They picked the wrong mind to challenge. The room stayed silent after that, no one daring to break the moment. Outside the viewport, the stars drifted past, distant and cold, but somehow sharper, like even the universe was watching to see who would make the first mistake.